Hey YouTube, it's me, Brandon Colonel again. Now, I've been trying to do an unboxing review about this particular knife, the Kershaw Burst, for about 2 or 3 days now, at least since Saturday. But for whatever reason, I couldn't actually get it on YouTube, because the way that my webcam is, it just kept on cutting out, and I can't pre-record something earlier on and then just load it into YouTube later. It just doesn't work like that for whatever reason. And so I'm trying something different, because when I tried to upload it directly from YouTube, then for whatever reason it just wouldn't let me load it. So I'm trying it a different way. If the resolution's bad, then just bear with me. But at this point, I've also carried the knife for way too long to do an unboxing and give you initial reviews. So I'm just going to do a full-on review of this thing. Now, as I said, it's the Kershaw Burst. The number is 1970, and it has 8CR13 MOV stainless steel. It has glass-filled nylon handles. It is a liner lock. Has it jimping on the back. It is a spear point design. There are no thumb studs. Jimping on forward and reverse grip. It is a tip-up only pocket clip, but it is reversible for left-handed carry. So southpaws do have a knife with this one. And now the things that I like and don't like. As far as things that I like, just an interesting little thing that I was finding is that the grind lines are also on the flipper. It's not just on the blade, but it's also on the flipper here. Like for my ZT, the grind lines stop right here. They don't continue onto the flipper. So that's just an interesting little thing that I like. Just no particular reason. I just find it cool. Another thing that I kind of like is I'm seeing this more and more on Kershaw's, but they're putting in that hexagon shape with the pivot bolt. So that way, when you're tightening on the screws, then you don't have to worry about that not catching anything, and therefore either loosening it incredibly easily or not tightening properly. So that's just something that I really like, that I've seen Kershaw doing a lot more and more lately. I don't think they did it quite as much beforehand, because I've bought a couple of Kershaws before, and I think I might have just given them away because I didn't like them. But yeah, so I'm seeing that more and more nowadays. I do like the pocket clip on here with how much easier it is to get out. For those of you that saw my review on the Kershaw Volt 2, believe it or not, this thing actually, the pocket retention is actually less on this than on the Burst. The reason why I like this one more is because the texturing is better, so it actually gives you a grip. Now, some would say that's a little bit counterintuitive, because it's because of the texturing on this that, for one, makes it so incredibly smooth in my hand, yet at the same time, because of the texturing paired with the grip on the pocket clip, is what makes it so difficult to get out. So I'm thinking a stronger texturing mixed with a stronger clip would make it even tighter fit in the pocket. Now, from a technical standpoint, that's actually true. From a standpoint of how easy it is to get it out, because of the better texturing, you can get a better grip on the knife and therefore pull it out faster. Whereas this knife is so freakishly slick that you just can't get it out as fast. Now I'll see if I can show that to you now. So this is the Volt 2. That's as fast as I can get it out. And this is the Kershaw Burst. It's not exactly too much faster, but it is a noticeable difference. One sec. But yeah, there is definitely a noticeable difference in that. At least for me, it seems pretty noticeable for me, at least. But again, other people may find different things. They may think that the Volt is better because it's more EDC friendly. That I actually picked up the Burst. But yeah, some people may like the Volt 2 better because they think it's more EDC friendly. Some may like this better because you can get it out faster. So therefore, if you need to use it in a tactical situation, you easily can. And so some people like different things. Now, back on to what I don't particularly care for. Well, let me go back to Pocket for a second. As far as the Volt 2, with how strong that is, you can still lift it up some. You can see that's lifting off the liners, or sorry, the scales. With this, I'm pressing pretty hard, and that's all that it will come up. So that's not much at all. So let me see if I can possibly show that side by side. If it doesn't work, oh well. Yeah, that's showing it side by side, and that's all that I can get. So this has less pocket retention, still harder to get out of the pocket. Stronger pocket retention, easier to get out of the pocket because of the texturing. Okay. Now, as far as things that I don't like, is although it does give you jimping on here, which is still a bonus, I would like to see it a little bit higher, because my thumb just naturally rests higher on the blade. So, therefore, it's not quite as productive as it could be. If the jimping was more up here, just at where your thumb naturally rests, it would be a lot better. Like, say, for instance, the ZT-0350. Then my thumb naturally rests right here, and like even when I'm just resituated to get a better position, my thumb actually goes lower. So my thumb naturally rests right here, and this is naturally where they put the jimping. So it's just really good on this one. Even on the Burst, they put it higher up on the knife, so therefore you can get a more comfortable grip. Whereas this one, they put it down so much lower, and it's not quite as comfortable of a grip for me. So I tend to put my thumb more right here, where it's just more natural for me. So if they had put the jimping up even just a little bit higher to where half my thumb was on it, instead of maybe just the last quarter, it would have been so much better. But sadly it's not, but you get what you get. It's different, and I still like it. Now, for those of you that just have to figure out every single part of the knife, figure out what every single thing does, this is going to tick you off. That little notch right there, this one little cut, it does nothing. That one single cutout does absolutely nothing. It is meant to serve no purpose. It's not a boning notch. It's not a notch to better help you in self-defense. It's meant for nothing. It is purely aesthetic. And so, for those of you that have to figure out a purpose for everything, that's going to tick you off because it's done just to be done. And now, I never actually did learn what all the grinds meant. So, just for those of you that want to know, it is a flat ground blade. But as far as what that actually means, honestly, I don't know. So for any of you that knows what this kind of stuff means, please enlighten me and tell me if it's in regards to the edge, if it's in regards to the grind along here. And please let me know in the descriptions, or sorry, not the descriptions, but the comment section. Let me know what you guys know, because I've looked it up on Google before, and it just shows me a bunch of pictures. So honestly, if you guys know the difference, send me a video response, send me just a response in the comment section. Please, somebody tell me, because I would actually like to know this stuff. But as far as the tip, like I said, it is a spear point, which the difference between, say, a spear point and a drop point, going back to the Volt 2, is that this is a drop point. Now, drop points have the tip right here, and then it just trails off going down. Now, for those of you that don't really know tips all that well, this looks like the same thing. It has a tip, then it trails off. Well, the difference is in the placement of the tip. This is basically in line with the spine of the knife. There's a little bit of pitching forward on it, but not too much. Now, if you actually trace down the center, and say you just go for the tip, then draw a line from the tip all the way down to the spine, down to where it just meets the bolt, it's not centered. So therefore, this is not a thrusting knife. You'd have to basically aim it downwards and try to do that in order for you to get a good pierce with this. When it comes to spear point blades, it's almost dagger-like. The tip is directly in line with the spine. Well, I keep on trying to say spine, but the tip is directly in line with the center of the blade. So therefore, if you need to use this as a piercing, some kind of a piercing tool, you would easily get that job done. This would easily penetrate just about anything. And seeing just how thin that tip actually is, even with it being that thin, it's still a fairly strong tip. It's not the thinnest that I've ever seen. Which I can compare that to the Kershaw Asset, which being longer and thinner, then that tip is more likely to break off. And I don't exactly have it, but I have seen leaks before. They are known for their super fine tip. This is nowhere near that. This is easily like 2 to 3 times thicker than the tip of a leek. And so yeah, if you need to use this as a piercing tool, you could easily do that without problems. I bought this at my pawn shop for about maybe 24 bucks. So and the guy that originally sold it to me, he actually was he pulled out his because he also has a Kershaw Burst, and he was telling me that he just literally throws it at stuff all day. Not exactly like a throwing knife, but just basically abusing the crap out of his knife, just throwing it everywhere. Just whenever he's bored, he'll just throw it at cardboard boxes, and just abuse the crap out of it. And the most that's happened is there's massive side-to-side blade play, which he says is easily fixed whenever he tightens down the pivot bolt, but there is a little bit of front-to-back blade play. Now, and this liner, just moving on to liners, is pretty thick. The liner lock is pretty substantial, and it engages very well. That's it. Just dropped my knife. The lockup is a little over 100%. Well, yeah, it's a little over 100%, but there's no blade play anywhere. Nothing's going wrong with it. So for those of you that are like terrified of the lockup failing because it's gone all the way to one end, honestly, this only has about a quarter more to go, and it's going to be completely at the other end, and that's buying it factory fresh. Still no blade play anywhere. I'm holding it at the very top, looking for blade play in any direction. I've got nothing, and it's only got about a quarter more before it's literally touching the other liner. Nothing's going to happen with that. I'm sorry for those of you that think that, but this is a solid and sturdy lockup. I'm actually more concerned about early lockups than I am about late lockups. Because a late lockup means this thing ain't going to fail you for anything. I mean, even if it's by some horrible tragedy something happens and it still folds over a little bit, the rest of the locking mechanism is going to catch it before it comes on your hands. You would literally have to break the liner itself before this knife will come on your hands. Whereas if it's an early lockup, then some unforeseen tragedy can happen. Like some people, like say it's a 50% lockup, or even earlier. That's not too much before say something just random happens, knocks the liner out of the way, and now that's coming crashing down on your hands. This is an incredibly sharp knife. If that comes down on your hands, I'm more worried about an early lockup than a late lockup. So that's my 2 cents about that. But as far as things that can actually cause blade play that I'm actually worried about, is the thumb studs. As you can see, this knife has none. Now, for me, it's a bit of a conundrum for me, because I both like thumb studs and hate thumb studs at the exact same time. So that's a bit of a problem for me, because the reason why I like thumb studs, which I will compare it to my CRKT. The thumb studs on this, they are non-existent. You can easily see that it has it. Those are big, beefy thumb studs, but they are not meant to be used. I mean, it takes forever just for me to get that thing out. That was me going as fast as I can, and that's probably the fastest that I've ever gone. And even at that one that I just got, then I only got out partly, and then I had to, it's just non-existent. It's not meant to be thumb studs. This is solely meant to be a blade stop. As you can see, once it's fully opened, the thumb studs come into contact with the scales. There is no stopping pin, which, as you can see on this knife, it has a stopping pin right here. That little pin right here is exactly what stops the knife. Now, this doesn't have it. It uses the thumb studs as a blade stop. Now, as you can see, there is virtually no wear on anything right there. I mean, me looking at it, which you can't exactly see it all that well through the webcam, but there's pretty much no wear on this thing. And I've had this for over a year now. There's no wear. So this is working out incredibly well. And also, there's no backstop pin to stop it when from going in too deep. Again, that's where the thumb studs come into play. The thumb stud is making contact with the scales and the liners, causing it to not be able to go too far into the handle. It's the exact same thing with my ZT. Now, it doesn't look like it on this side that it does that, because it's not making contact. But on this side, it makes contact with the liners and the scales to make sure that nothing happens in the way of destending too far in the handle. Now, the thumb studs on this are workable, granted that you're right-handed. If you're left-handed, there's no way on earth that you're getting that out. You just can't get your thumb behind it. Now, if you're going beneath, you can get it open somewhat, but then you have to finish it the rest of the way. Now, as far as right-handed, again, possible, but it's just a little bit more finicky, and it takes a little bit more practice. Now, with quite a bit of practice, yeah, you could get that open fairly easily. Like, as I'm practicing now, I've basically got it down. But the thing is, That takes no practice. It's either you know how to do this or you don't. That's all there is to it. It takes no practice. Now, this knife, it doesn't have any thumb studs. So, from an aesthetic standpoint, I say that looks pretty clean. Now, my Kershaw Asset does not have thumb studs. My Kershaw Volt 2 does not have thumb studs. All three of these knives have no thumb studs. Now, the thing that I like about that is the fact that that basically, when it comes to a designated flipper, then one of a couple of things is going to happen. Either A, you're going to have a stop pin, or B, you're going to be having the blade stops. Now, on my Cryo, it has thumb studs. Thumb studs, you can use it, but a little bit more finicky, and honestly can be a little bit more dangerous if you don't know how to use it. But it still uses a blade stop, because the stop pin, because thumb studs are not used as blade stops. This could easily go without the thumb studs, and I'd be perfectly fine, because it still uses a blade stop. Now the thing, when it comes to knives without it, it's just a much cleaner look. I like how clean that is. There's nothing getting in the way, say if you're sharpening the knife. Especially on the Asset, with just how narrow that angle is, you can get the job done without having to worry about thumb studs. Whereas something like this, my Cryo, then thumb studs are constantly getting in the way. I would love to see this without thumb studs, because the thumb studs are just useless on this knife. I mean, sure, there are people who still use the thumb studs. You can get it without using the flipper, but it's just so much harder, and in my opinion, it's more dangerous almost, because it takes so much more work to get it out. Whereas flipper, just that easy. So, but another thing, and I don't particularly care for with the stop pin, is that constantly hitting that at high speeds because of the torsion bar. It constantly hits that stop pin, and over time it'll cause it to deform. And one of two things is going to happen, or both. So technically one of three things, but the third thing is both of them happening at the same time. The first is that constantly hitting it is going to deform the stop pin and create blade play. The second thing that's going to happen, or should I say that can happen, is the holes that the stop pin goes in are going to be deformed, and it's going to turn more into an oval than a circle. And then that's going to cause play in the pin itself, causing blade play in the knife. And obviously the third thing is both happening at once. You're going to have deformities in the stop pin, going to have deformities in the holes where the stop pin is placed in. And when that happens, you're going to have massive blade play that is a knife killer. Once that amount of blade play comes into a knife, I say the knife is over. You cannot use it anymore, period. I will not feasibly use a knife that has that much blade play. So, when it comes to thumb studs acting as the blade stops, you don't have to worry about that, because the force is spread out over such a bigger area that no matter what's going to happen, unless the lock bar itself starts wearing down, you're not going to have front to back blade play. Side to side, you can have that all day, but you can fix that easily by tightening down the pivot screw. You can't fix up and down blade play for anything. That's just not able to be fixed. You can prevent it early on if you have, say, a titanium lock bar. You can easily fix it by carbonizing the lock face. Once you've got blade play front to back, you can't carbonize the lock face and fix that anymore. You can prevent it early on. So that's one thing, and I don't really care for about this. I like it, and I hate it at the same time. It has no thumb studs, so it makes it cleaner. It doesn't have thumb studs, so therefore it's not going to be used as blade stops to get rid of that stop pin. So I like it and I love it at the same time. Now, as far as sharpness, it was razor sharp right out of the box. And which I can show you now. I got the wrong angle on that one, so that wasn't the knife's fault, that was mine. So as you can see, this is just like razor sharp. It just slices straight through everything. And yeah, this thing it doesn't start forming blade play incredibly fast. In fact, I have yet to actually need to tighten this down for anything. So which also, by the way, something else that I actually really like about this is just attention to detail. They actually stonewashed the liners, which, by the way, if you guys ever decide to take this thing apart, then once you have the top liner completely loose, you'll hear something that just sounded like it cracked completely. So you'll think that you broke something in your knife, when in reality, the thing that you'll hear is actually the torsion bar coming loose from the scales. Because part of the torsion bar is linked with the blade itself, which is obviously how the torsion bar works. But the other half, and the other end I should say, is attached to the handle. Well, not just the handle, but the scales. So once the scales are loose enough, then the snapping that you hear is the torsion bar coming loose from the scales. So it's just about a pain in the butt to get back together, but it is doable without any serious knife knowledge. It's more just a knowledge of, okay, so this is how it's got to go together, this is how it should go together, so this is what I need to do. That's more what you're looking for. But, yeah, so, but I just like the fact that they stonewash the inside liners. I mean, you're not going to see it, but yet they do it anyways. It just shows they're putting out a quality product. I like that. Yeah, so this thing is razor sharp, can easily pop the hairs off your arm, and you don't really even have to do anything to the blade to get it to do that. It was that sharp right out of the box. So, honestly, this is a phenomenal knife. Mainly closed construction, but yeah, this is a phenomenal knife. I'll easily see this getting plenty of use in the future. So it's not my favorite, but I do really like this knife quite a bit. So that's basically all that I've got to say about the Kershaw Volt 2. I've been comparing it so much to the Volt that I'm calling it the Volt now. This is the Kershaw Burst. Sorry about that. And really good knife. Go ahead and get one while it's still there, because, by the way, this is discontinued. Any more that you see of this is the last that you'll see it anywhere, besides the secondary markets at least. So, as always, stay safe.